Beyond the Breaker podcast. This is our Sparkplugs session. We're going to call it that. A little 10-minute debrief. We're going to talk about some of the company news stuff, as well as, a few other things that are maybe more personal. Just to have a candid conversation here for whatever amount of minutes it takes. But we've got some feedback on the episode lengths and the beginning of those episodes, and maybe shortening that up a little bit. So we're going to add in kind of a one-off drop here, and we'll do this periodically as we continue to drop interview episodes. So this is Sparkplugs, and Ben's going to start us off with what we are going to call our Sparkplug items.
I love it.
Keynotes about the company.
Yeah. In no specific order, part of this is connecting us as human beings, but also as different pieces of the company. And finally, in the upper Midwest, we have spring and it's leaning into summer. So it's two-wheel season. And for all of you who love bicycles and motorcycles of any variety, turns out I do too. I don't even know if you do, Andrew.
No, I prefer to keep my golf carts on four wheels,
so there
if I can.
There are a ton of folks here, just through like anecdotal conversations over the last few years. One of our PMs, Tim Hansen, stopped me in the hall the other day. We were talking about he likes adventure bikes and sport touring bikes. Awesome. I know Charlie Chupan likes cruisers. I know Thomas Taylor in our estimating group, he likes sport bikes. I used to race motorcycles. I love all of them. So if you have some pictures, comments, things like that about bikes, send them in. It would be cool. And then, let's not be too discriminatory. There's a lot of folks who like pedal bikes, bicycles of all varieties. And I had a chance to hear from some of the guys in ECSI, Mike Pearson and Michael Wolke, new guy. And there's just so many people who love different kind of bikes here.
Dominic Tallarico is a competitive bike racer.
I've heard he's kind of quick.
He just won a race in Red Wing 4 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. I've heard he's actually really, really quick.
Yeah, he's it's legit.
Yeah. And actually, my own bicycle racing, by weird coincidence, was started with an interaction. Tim Bodie is one of our general foremen. Yeah. And he was giving me grief about riding bicycles, and he got me into triathlon and multi-sport stuff. And so, Tim actually has cost me a lot of money because I went and bought very expensive bicycles after that.
Good work.
Yeah. So if you have things about bikes, motorcycles, scooters, mopeds, whatever, let's hear about them. Kind of moving on from there, Andrew, it occurred to me the other day, we don't all know what business development is. So can you give us a tiny little bit about what your BD group does, how that's maybe unique at Hunt, and your own kind of role in that? Got to keep it high level.
Sure.
But give some stuff there.
Yeah. So at a high level view of it, the BD team in itself, we sit in the central area, kind of that back right corner if you're walking south. But our role really is to bring in these project opportunities. And with that, we are talking to general contractors, sometimes even owners, who would we call customers in that sense, and getting an idea, getting a lead of what's out there, what's the next big project or what's the next small project. That they're going to need electrical construction help on. Mm-hmm. And from that, we would take those project details, have the conversations, get as much info as possible, even if it's from a schematic design level all the way to a construction design level and construction documents level.
So sometimes lots of detail, tons of it, and other times almost no detail at all.
Yep. So it could be 2 years out. It could be project starting in 2 months, right?
Right.
And from there, we're taking that, working with the estimating team, sometimes working with the design team to put a number to the electrical work that'll be done on this project, working with the GC and answering their questions, providing what we're going to cover in scope. And at the end of the day, we're turning in a bid, scope letter to that GC or to that customer in the hopes of winning the work.
Yeah.
And from that, the BD role in that entire thing is really the communication point of contact from start to really project start. Sure. And what I mean by that is hey, over a lunch period, somebody told me about this project that's coming down the road 6 months from now. Keep an eye on it. Yeah. Okay. Make sure everybody at Hunt knows it. When it comes out, you now then are the communication point, getting the details, getting it all the way to the bid time, and then the award time, and then handing it off to operations and staying in tune with that.
Never fully walking away or anything. But.
Yeah, because there's always things that happen that come back in, needs another estimate or needs conversation. Cool. So with that, I would say really the biggest thing, it's a communication point of contact that's built on relationships with the customer and with the GC, and along with relationships, obviously, internally with estimating and operations and design. So that's... that's
BD in a tiny little nutshell.
Sure. Yep.
If Andrew didn't explain it well, or you have other questions about it, please ask those too. That's maybe a theme we're going to have here is asking you for questions.
Yeah. And one thing we did get back on feedback is some people may want to ask questions to who our interview guests are going to be. Mm-hmm. I know we have a couple in the hopper, but one thing that you can do as a listener or a viewer of the podcast is ask your questions. I think our email is at beyondthebreaker.com. Travis?
You're doing terribly at this.
What's the email?
beyondthebreaker@huntelec.com.
Okay, if you didn't hear that, it's beyondthebreaker@huntelec.com.
Real good BD guy here.
If you want me to repeat it, I will, but I won't. That's who you can send questions to, and Ben will introduce, because I'm doing such a terrible job, Ben will introduce who our next guests are going to be.
So coming up pretty soon, we are going to check in with some apprentices. They all happen to be out of the local market here, but we've heard some cool things about these 3 individuals, and we're going to have them in for a conversation. It's going to be a little bit targeted and focused, but in a little shorter, I think. But we've got some, I think there's a 3rd period and 2 5th period apprentices coming in. So if folks have questions for them, kick it this way.
I think a great one, if I may interrupt, if you were somebody who came from the apprenticeship program, ask questions about what it's like now. Yeah. Because I do feel it's probably very different than when others who have gone through it.
Jared Kinneberg, 300 million years ago.
So I think those are great questions, and that will definitely help Ben and I out in asking those questions throughout the interview.
Yeah, awesome. Good suggestion. And then another future episode, this is a little bit of a bombshell because we haven't actually asked the individuals, but here we are. Erin Danielson is a general foreman. She's on our ECSI team. And then we also have Juan Cisneros, who is a GF for our Hunt Electric team. We're going to have them in to talk about some of the work they've done together. So if you have questions for them, want to give some zingers, want to give us some softballs to kind of lob up there and tease them a little bit, would love that. So let's see where that goes. Another little piece on the business side, I want to talk a little bit about lean. So Andrew, totally trick question. You don't know what this question is going to be. When you think about your day and your role here, do you like to have a plan about the way things go? Or do you want to be reactionary and fighting fires all the time?
Tough one. I'm going to say plan, final answer.
Yeah. Okay. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
So I think that most people don't really appreciate not knowing what the plan is and where it's going to go and when do I need to be there. And so conceptually, lean is about trying to create and empower some of that visibility about where we're going, what we're doing, what the plan is, what are the tools that we need, when do we need to be there, what does done look like. And so here at Hunt, we've been embracing that for a number of years, but really starting to roll that out and maybe formalize it a little more. And in the spirit of like engaging and asking for questions, I bet everybody listening to this has been involved in a construction project that did not quite go to plan. Like they don't. And so my question to you would be, what kinds of things would help that? And so as somebody who's very involved in the way that we're deploying lean tools, I think about project scheduling. And this is not like a plug for any particular brand, but like we talk about pull planning in general, which is the idea that we're going to start at the end mentally, and we're going to build that back to the beginning to figure out what do we need to do first. That last planner system kind of incorporates all the things from the office and the field and really trying to drive a schedule that's collaborative, that takes into account the field people, because honestly, they know more than us carpet walkers. Mm-hmm. And so let's try and leverage some of those tools. So I know I'm engaged with a couple of project teams right now, and we've got capacity. So if you've got a project that's a little bit tough or the schedule hurts, let's maybe talk about how to make that a little bit better. And Andrew, I've got one more spark plug on here.
Absolutely.
Long and short, we had Baer in earlier, and Wade, and Charlie, we're talking about some of the stuff they're doing. You might remember Duct Bank. And for those who haven't heard it, Duct Bank is underground things that we bury that provide piping so that we can pull conductors through and we can communicate and energize different systems. So in 2024, Baer manufactured about 40,000 lineal feet of duct bank. In 2025, we're knocking on the door of 200,000. Whoa. Baer's blowing up, we're blowing up, and it takes the whole team to do that. That's all I got for today. Andrew, anything else?
I don't have anything else. What is the email again? Can you repeat it?
That would be beyondthebreaker@huntelect.com.
Yeah. So if you want to ask questions, send it to
beyondthebreaker@huntelect.com. Subscribe, hit comments on the places that you listen or view.
There we are.
Thanks, folks.